What up, what up, what up, y'all? What's up? This is Isaiah Fowler, and this is the Starts with a Vision podcast, Reloaded. And you already know we talking about direct to consumer, right? And so today I wanted to bring to light, I want to give you guys some perspective, and I want to kind of give you something to think about, right? So the topic is, what's the difference between a customer base and an email list? Because a lot of people think that they have a customer base, but they really just have an email list. And the real goal should be to have a customer base, a consumer base, and really a family, right? So in my time of, working with different businesses, I see the back end of a lot of businesses. And some of the things that distinguish a solid back end from a not so solid back end is the ability to communicate with their customers, and then to have their customers be highly engaged, right? So that you can increase revenue, increase returning customers, et cetera, with whatever you're doing. So let's talk about it, right? Let's talk about it. When you have a business, your goal should be to build up an audience of people that love the products that you are offering so that they can buy it over and over and over again. No matter what the product is, right? It could be shoes, it could be skincare, it can be hats, it could be sunglasses, it can be, whatever, right? So let's think about it. You have two businesses. So one business has an email list and another business has a customer base. So what are the real differences between the two? I look at this as one has a brand and one has a transactional entity, right? So the brand with the email list, this is how they treat this group of people, right? The brand with the email list, or the company with the email list, all they're focused on is how are we going to maximize the sales from this email list? And that's solely it. Solely it, right? When what that means is they're more of a transactional entity. But the brand that has a customer base is more like, what are some dope things we can do to leverage our email list and build a better relationship with our customers in whatever way that may be, right? When I work with my clients, we're always trying to figure out how can we continue to do dope shit with the customers, right? Because what happens is your customers are only going to respond to certain things for so long. And then it's like they're going to get burnt out. And you have to think about marketing as dating, right? Once you get a customer, y'all are now dating. Once they purchase for the second or third time, y'all are now in a relationship / marriage, right? Depending on what the product is. Meaning they have expectations of you and you kind of have expectations of them, right? So what happens is If all you're trying to do is withdraw, 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 eventually you're not going to have anything to withdraw from. Right? And that's why, or that's when you only have an email list. You should not be looking at your email list as an ATM machine. And that's it. I'm not saying don't make money off your email list. But what I am saying is, right, if you're sending, you'll have your flows and stuff like that. But if you're sending, let's say you're sending 15 emails a month, and that's just campaigns, not including flows, right? Let's say you're sending out 15 emails per month. What are those 15 emails? Are they only sales? See what I'm saying? That's an email list. But a customer base, why can't 2 of those emails be building relationships with your customers? And this is why it's always about the brand, right? The brand is always going to win. Because if I have a skincare company and there's another skincare company in the industry, this one skincare company, all they care about is sales, discounts, and promotions. And another company, they more are building a community of people that have a common interest in something. Eventually, I'm probably going to end up going with this brand over here because in my mind, I would rather be a part of something than rather be, getting used by someone. And think about your relationships personally. What if you have someone who is just taking, and that's it? You don't mind giving, but you only want to give when you know you're appreciated, right? That's the same concept with an email list versus a customer base, with a brand versus a transactional entity, right? That's why I believe you don't want to get too far removed from the brand, because once you start getting to the point where you're removed from the brand, then you start looking at it as just, that's it. So even if you get yourself to the point where you're not operating a business and it's all systemized, you want to hire somebody that is more brand heavy so that way they can keep the actual brand going. And what are some things that, a solid brand needs in order to have that DNA? There's a lot of things, Okay, yeah, you got your brand voice, your brand message, your brand identity and those things. But also, what about our mission? Why do we truly exist besides making money, right? Why are we here? What is our narrative? What's the story? Right? What is our promise? When someone purchases from us, what's the promise that we have to the customers? You really got to dive deep into this shit. You really got to dive deep into this shit. Because if you don't, what's going to happen? You're going to end up just like everybody else. And what is everybody else doing? Got a Shopify store, making money, and that's it. Right? My goal is to sell my company. Right? I share information from a perspective of, do you want to get acquired or not? That's where I'll be going with it. Because you have to have an exit strategy. If you look at business, right? If you look at business and people that start companies from nothing and from scratch, right? When you really look at it, you want to ask yourself, how do I want to go out? How will the story be told? That's how I look at it. How do I want the story to be told when it's all over and when it's all said and done? These are the things that I ask myself as I'm building my company, as I'm growing it, as I work with clients, and as we strategize on the actual, business development and growing a business. What is the story? What's the narrative? When everything is done, what's being said? What's on the headlines? And then we reverse engineer that and we operate as if that's what it is, right? That's my philosophy. That's how I do things. And that is what makes you a lot more strategic. Because if you know down the road you want to make this move, then you already know what moves you need to make, right? But if you don't have an aim, even Napoleon Hill talks about it, have a chief, definite aim. That's what he talks about. It's one of his principles of success. A lot of people are operating without a chief, definite aim, right? They're more focused on the screenshot of revenue rather than everything else. There is a story behind all your numbers. There's a story behind all your numbers. And you really, really, really want to, you want to be able to tell your story. A lot of people can't even tell their story of their revenue because they don't know how to analyze and dissect the actual data of what happened. They see the revenue, they think that that's it. It's not it. There's a reason why this revenue looks like that, right? You want to be able to analyze your data so that you can know how to, more efficiently maneuver and move forward in your business. So those are some things that you definitely can and should think about as you're growing your direct-to-consumer brand. It's really, really, really important to have a long-term goal and have a long-term strategy. It's more important than you think, right? The world is ever evolving. A lot of people operate off trends when you should be operating off of principles, right? Really focus on your strategy. I'm not just talking about Facebook ads, and that's going through its own thing right now with this whole iOS stuff, right? I'm not just talking about ads. I'm talking about the holistic, overarching vision of your company. You really, really want to dive in to that. That's what's going to make you successful. There's always going to be a platform to market on. There's always going to be somebody who's popping that can, wear your products. But you want to focus on the DNA and the culture, the story, the messaging, and the positioning of your brand. And once you focus on that, everything else literally takes care of itself. But you got to trust the journey and you got to trust the whole process of this thing. A lot of people are just trying to rush the process. You cannot rush the process of building something that you want to last forever. A lot of people talk about they want generational wealth, but you're not really doing or going through the same process that it takes in order to get generational wealth. So you're going to have like 20 years worth of wealth rather than generational wealth. Or you're going to have 2 years worth of wealth rather than generational wealth, right? You really want to ask yourself, what do I really want? What do I really want? Not what do I say I want? What do I really want? And, building a real business, it's not flashy. It's not always fun, of course. But if you're committed to the long term and you have a long-term strategy and you're willing to invest into the brand, not just the transactional entity, you'll go so much further. I see it with my clients. We focus on strategy over here, right? So that's really what I wanted to talk about today. The differences between an email list and a customer base. You know, email list, you're just looking at them as money, people that you can make money off of. Customer base, you know, it's more of an audience. You're building a real brand here. You're trying to foster the relationships, you know, with your customer base. You're willing to lose a little bit more on the front end for the loyalty of them on the back end, right? That's what brands do. But companies, they just transactional. They have no pulse. They have no personality. It's a whole nother thing to personify. You want to personify your company, and that's what turns it into a brand, right? So we're gonna keep this going. I just want you to always know that you got to go deeper if you really want to have true success in this world. You got to go deeper. It can't just be about anything surface level, right? So ask yourself, do I have an email list or do I have a customer base, right? And if you don't, then just work on it. It's okay, right? We all got to work on it. We all got stuff to work on in our business, but you just got to keep working on it. So always remember, everything you do in life, it starts with a vision. And we're going to talk to you guys on the next episode. Peace.